The next 30 minutes, we're sharing with you an in-depth knowledge of curly hair. How do you become the specialist? Sean's message on mindset, on behavior, on learning, tying into the circle of success in engaging the guests that sit in your chair. The first thing we identify is what frizz is. When we identify what frizz is, the first thing we identify is it's the loss of moisture and color that goes through the frizz that we really need to be concerned with. The texture of hair is determined by the actual shape of the follicle. When you take a look at the bottom, a straight hair is an oblong. The tighter the oblong becomes, right down to the spily coily hair there, the more stress becomes on the hair shaft. I need you with me now. I'm going to give you the simplest explanation. It'll help you so much with your curly guests. A straight hair, the structural bonds run horizontal. There is no stress. The cuticle can lay nice and smooth. When you move into curly hair, where that wave bends, the structural bond becomes stretched. That stress is the point of what frizz is, and that's where color is lost from. That's where you don't get the reflection of light from. That's where moisture is lost from. It's your stress points. When you take a look at what Surface Curls does, it begins, first of all, with babassu oil providing the moisture, amaranth, a flexible protein, but ultimately cocoa butter. And that's why you get that beautiful, as you'd say, that fragrance going, what is that? Here's your education point. It's cocoa butter. And it's the vitamin K from the cocoa butter that provides that strength. And then there's zero plastics. It's glycoproteins that lay the cuticle nice and flat. Moringa as an antioxidant for extra color protection. Do I expect you, if this is the first time you've seen this, to know it? No, but if you're serious, which I really hope you are, because you're taking 2 days out of your life, take the time to go on to Surface U, our university, and go through the detailed, and then challenge yourself. Go to our website and take the certification. Here's a good example. Straight hair, curly hair, structural bond. When we say seeing is believing, what we have happening right now is the curls bake. And during the curls bake that Kelly's doing for me there, put your hands together for this lovely young lady, please. She had shampooed Amy's hair with the curl shampoo. We then took the mask on stage here and squeezed it from base to ends. We don't comb at that point, because remember, when curly hair is wet, if you comb it before you've got complete ease of control, you're stretching those bonds again. So the mask is applied, it's not rinsed. Then she used the serum, which is intense moisture, and added the one shot. As I shared with you yesterday, the shoulder is a real breaking point for curly girls getting their hair longer to take away the friction. And what one shot does is gives you a false layer of protein around those ends. I'm hoping right now you're thinking a guest that you can't wait to message immediately afterwards going, oh my goodness, girl, do we have something for you? The next thing that happens when we go into it, and we're not going to go there into the end of it, into the styling part yet, but we are in the whip, we'll apply the whip. And many people confuse the whip because it's a mousse for a styling product. It's not. The reason that the whip is airy like that is it's very lightweight detangling. And from there, we'll put a little bit of our mist on it, and then we're not going to go too much farther because I'm going to cut, and we'll style afterwards. So that's the first time it's going to be combed. We'll start combing first of all with our wide tooth detangling comb, and then we'll finish with our rake. I can't wait to just shape that up a little for you. Little things don't mean a lot. They mean everything. And she's got the most beautiful eyes above these beautiful cheekbones hiding underneath the mask. When we go to cut, when I'm working on straight to wavy hair, I still like to use my razor. I say my Surface razor. Please note, it does not have a metal guard. If you're using a razor with a metal guard, it abrades the cuticle, and that's where you get frizz. And if a person is unaware, they'll go, never use a razor on curly hair, you're going to frizz it out. Never use any other razor but a Surface razor on curly hair. So when I move then to curly to spiral coily, where it's tighter, then I'm going to use my shear. A lot of my layering, though, I will use a walking motion. I won't just cut blunt, especially on layers. Too often when you're working with a scissor, if it sits totally even, it looks what? Round. So I need some diffusion in my layers. I'll always work with my TK2 comb. Please, if you go home and you take a look at your comb and you've got a missing tooth, please recycle it. The reason is I want to make sure you're always putting your best foot forwards, and also share with your guests the reason that you would be using a TK2 comb is every tooth is polished. Yes, I am very anal. I feel sorry for my wife. But you got one chance to do it perfect. Why not just do it perfect? And I want to make sure I have a soft, rounded edge on it. And so those are the key elements when I'm working with cutting curls. Now here's some base guidelines that you'll see me do this. I visually define the guest curl pattern when the hair is dry. I need to see how much shrinkage it's going to have so I can cut with control and not tension. What did I say? So also I'm going to see me cut in the belly of the curl in my outer perimeter. I want to make sure the hair is going to collapse, so it'll be the belly of the curl, that S pattern that I'm going to cut with, and I'll use a rotation method to make sure that that bevel's under. I'll use the large section of the comb and 0 to minimum tension. If I find the hair is too big and I want to have collapse, I can have vertical separation of my curl, but never horizontal. If I work horizontally, the hair grows versus collapsing. And I'll shatter the layers for definition. We're working with longer hair here right now, but you saw me yesterday in doing working with the shorter hair in our trend cut. I used a very shattered motion. So if I looked at it, I would not pass the state boards. Let me share it with you right now. Because it wasn't rounded, it had to have definition, so one curl can fall over the next, curl can fall over the next, and I get movement in that texture. The two pictures I put right there on the left, one is a soft shattered line, the other is a deeper shattered line. The difference within those lines is the deep shattered line will have more movement. I want you to think of two things when you think of curls. I want you to think of caring for them, which you have here, and then I want you to think of styling them. All too often, the guest leaves the salon and they just have the curls, shampoo, or conditioner. Styling is so important to think of the whole spectrum and how you can help your guest. The first thing I use, whether I'm blow drying curls smooth or we're going to define them, is the frizz-free spray gel. It's the primer. Very little hold to it. Then if I'm going smooth, I'm going to use a smoothing cream, the spray for my thermal protect, and the serum. If I'm defining and I'm embracing my curls, I still start with the spray gel, then I go to our firm mousse, the curl spray, wet and dry, and the cream wax. You saw me work with the cream wax yesterday. My goodness, her hair looked absolutely amazing. And then I may finish with the serum. Number one challenge to you, be a specialist. Surfacehair.com, click sign in as your professional. Drop to the bottom and begin your world of certifications right now. And then on there, when you take that certification, you'll have the opportunity to print right there a certificate, take a screenshot of it, and shout out to the world your training. So now, are you ready? I'm going to get you to stand up for me, please. When I'm cutting the perimeter line, I prefer that my guest is going to stand. I've got the wide side of my comb. And please note this, that the treatment is already in the hair. And it's right about now where I find out how close to the ground I was built. They built me close to the ground. I do like that center part that we're going to work with. The more highlights that you'll ever have in curl, when the hair is wet, it's harder to read the actual panel. Now is when I want to be able to embrace more of that curl panel back into the hair. We're working with length, so we'll cut with two sections here. We're maintaining most of it. Our ends are a little on the sparser side. We've used one shot in them well. And now watch, my thumb is at the bottom, elbow here, and when I close, see how I'm going to rotate that in the belly? So I open it up, there's the belly, there's no tension, and I lightly rotate my wrist under as I'm cutting. And everything I'm doing here, I share exactly with my guest, Amy, as to why we're doing what. Amy, we're working at cutting in the turning point, that belly of your curl, so that the ends stay nice and full and they roll under for you. We're releasing the tension off of the hair within our surface curl cutting system so that it allows for the natural bounce. And I'm also, as I cut, lightly rolling that wrist under to create that bevel on the ends. You are the specialist, but guess what? She doesn't know it. So that's why we're telling her what we're doing and why. Continuing to section this up. Let's turn this way now so that they can see this, having her look straight ahead, combing it down, but then there's the turning point in my curl, under, always cutting that directional. Now, when I move over the ear, my shoulder would cause, and especially being sparser in the red zone, my shoulder would give me elevation. Elevation provides graduation, and it's going to be too sparse. So, Amy, I need you to look as far as you can to the left. By her laying her head to the left now, it allows me to pick up that guide and take it forwards. And in fact, you probably saw I hardly took anything off there. I feel it was cut probably, in my taste, it would have been too short last time around. So look as far as you can to the right now. Keep your head nice and straight. Take that line down, find my guide, and take the line away. So every time I'm cutting, you can see just in that belly is where my target is. Get you to have a seat down. Now, as I work in around my face, we're going to break up a framework here. I'm going to move over the eye just a little bit more rather than dead center here. We're very sparse in my red zone, so I'm going to choose not to use my razor here. If I was thicker in there, I'd work with my razor. I want to maintain my length. I capture the hair at my first knuckle. I lift it up. I'm going to start at my jaw. The reason I'm lifting it up is to take the tension off of it. Open the shear, drop it down. And as I flutter my thumb, it rolls to the middle. And this is the diamond shear that I'm working with here. So you see the last turn on it, how I'm turned in? That's going to give me collapse. As I move to the front, there's 3 panels that we work with. Let's disconnect this top fringe first. Take our line down. Working with my visual guide, take the shear, drop the swivel down, and walk the thumb. And my left hand that's holding the hair is the one that lets the length remain. And I'm gently rolling that hand all the way down. Here's the reason why I disconnected that top to start with. Because when she does push her hair back and away, I've got disconnection in shape. Because if I did only work with 2 sections, when she would push this back away from her face, this would be still all one length, and I can't leave that. That broken line is going to accent the jaw for me. So we'll take this down, work with the disconnection over line, open the shear, and I'm lightly going to flutter the thumb. And roll that out to the length. Now, I would have preferred to use a razor here if I would have had more density of hair to work with. And right now, into your hands to diffuse. Rule number 1, when we're moving into diffusing, no stress on the hair. We just take the hair and we drop it in. Oh, the lovely young lady yesterday, Sandra, do you want to know how we set those curls? How those curls would be set? When we were working with in African American hair to set it, what we do is we would take this section and we'd do a 3-finger loop set. If I have a tight coily hair, I can just let it hang down in the coil all the way around the head. If I want more lift, I can pin it at the base. The key is the same thing, will turn you loose here, is not touching it as it dries. None of this. I learned that the hard way because my beautiful wife, Deborah, even though she's blown out smooth now, she's got the most beautiful curly hair. And it was a major influence to me doing the surface curls with Surface. Because for the first probably 30 years of our marriage, it was don't touch my hair, I just did it. And as a curly girl, you know what you're talking about and how that frizz breaks apart. Kurt, come and have a seat here, buddy. Man, I excited about cutting your hair. Brandy, could you grab a little bit of the CBD salve for us first? Got a little extra special treat for you, and you're going to want to use it all the time when you're at home. But today, we're going to give you just a little bit of the Surface CBD salve. There you go, buddy. Takes care of all the winter dryness, and especially any of the knuckles that may have any aches or stuff. Just go ahead and massage that right in there, and we'll get cutting. Little things don't mean a lot. They mean everything. And Brandy will work with a little bit of protein cream here. Kurt, with our Renew collection, we're seeing a little bit of a shaggier feeling. You know, I've had the opportunity of, how many times a week have I cut your hair now? Number 8. I've got a return guest. They keep coming back. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to take this sideline and we're going to disconnect it. Knuckles to the head again and shatter that line down. Very important behind the eye, always taking that little C. This is in men's hair. That's so important, is to keeping that area clean, whether it's short or long hair that we're working with. Let's continue that from the ridge. Take that guide, shatter out to my length. And you can see the left hand that's holding the hair is doing more work for me. Right. A little bit of protein cream there. Great, thanks. So I'm working through that red zone right now. And I shatter that down, and as I get towards the end, I want to leave some shagginess on that outer perimeter. Sort of an uncut feel as you would have to it. Let's continue to disconnect that top, pull my guide down, shatter that line down. You'll notice I'm using a fairly large stroke here with Kurt's hair. Knuckles to the head, shatter that line down. When I get to the outer perimeter, I'll just extend a little bit. Okay, we'll move to the opposite side. We're going to disconnect here again. Knuckles to the head. Shatter that line down. Leave that little extra length, about half the ear is what I'm leaving here. Making sure that we're taking it tight behind the eye. very important behind the ear in the red zone that I'm taking my hand and pulling out and away. So we're not going to be mulletizing you, but we are leaving some nice fringe in this outer perimeter. Okay, Kurt, we'll get you to go ahead and you can hook that back around your ear again. And let me get you to stand up just for a second. See, I purposely got these really tall models so that I can see exactly what I'm doing. And Brandy, I'm going to get you, give me a little bit of the blowout protective oil if you would, please. And I won't be needing my trimmer on Kurt's neck, but I wanted to, if it was heavier, I could. But he has a very nice, light, very, very controllable neckline here. Clean this area all up. Now, especially when I'm leaving it a little shaggier like this, you'll notice that I'm not pushing Kurt's head down. I don't want any tension, because if he does this, it doesn't give me a real line of his neck. If he walked around like that all day, it'd be perfect. But I want to see how it's really going to lie. And here in some of the swirly areas of the back is where I'm going to come in and really personalize into those curls with the razor, just to keep them under control for us. Okay, let me get you to have a seat right back down here again. Now, Kurt, before we go any farther into the top, we're going to begin a little bit of a special treat for you today here with the final touches of our scalp facial. So we started with our Awaken shampoo at the sink. We did the mask and the elixir to begin the stimulation process. Now let's take this top line and disconnect it over. Drop it down. Work right behind the eye, and I'm going to shatter this corner off. He'll be able to wear some of that underneath forwards, but he likes to do a lot of kind of pushing it back in away from his face. Take this down over the eye. Kurt, what we're going to do is we're going to go a little shorter over your left eye here. It's going to kind of open it up more for you, give it a little more strength. And then when you push it back and away, the accent will fall over the other cheekbone for you. Right behind the eye, come and grab this weight again. The thicker the hair, the larger the stroke that you would use with the razor to keep that nice and soft. Grab that disconnected line. Elevation creates graduation, so this will take away the weight. So Kurt, don't worry, you will not have a bowl. Pardon? Right in here, yeah, absolutely. So when I pick up that weight in the corner, my blade here is a long stroke. And it's this stroke that makes sure that there's no weight that falls through. So when he pushes his hand back, he's got that length and he's got that fullness, but he's got no shelf line to it. I want to make sure that I do have that disconnection there so we do have that weight to work with. Now, the next step that we'll work with here is our RZ blender. And the key with the RZ blender is you don't close it like you would a normal blender. When you close it, you use the pivot to pull away. It's like 42 razors going through. It has a third cutting edge. It has the tooth, it has the blade, and like a razor inside each one. So when I come into this thickness here, the area that's disconnected, as I cut, it pulls away. Brandy, I'll get you to grab a little bit of men's mud there, please. And grab that spoon. So Kurt, what I'm going to do is, this is the men's mud. It'll give you control, it'll give you flex. Get you to rub that into your hands. This is called interactive styling, by the way. Get you to work that through. Now, you do the routine. You see those girls over there? And you've been working on this left arm here a while, so right there. Come on, now, work it, yeah. That's it. That's what I'm talking about. That's it. There you go. Oh, yeah. Now, we're not done with you yet, buddy, but let me get you to stand up over here. And I want to share with you guys the options of where we see an option for men's hair, moving into that shaggier kind of a line. So he can still pull it back, he can disconnect it down, keeps it piecey, keeps it lightly disheveled. And how about if we have Brandy do her magic and just do one of these, Brandy. Now, as Brandy is taking and just allowing natural shape to fall in there, I'm going to bring us back onto our PowerPoint for a minute. To understand the specialty of Awaken, why worldwide is Awaken the #1 choice for thinning hair, there's 3 key reasons. Number 1 is anagen. Anagen is the stage in which your hair is actually growing. From there it moves into catagen, which is a resting stage. From there it moves into telogen, which is the stage when it's going to be shed. If you see someone with hair down to their waist, oh my goodness, look at her hair, it's amazing. She probably has 6 years of anagen. 6 years of anagen means she can grow for 6 years. That's her natural DNA. If you see someone with hair only mid-back and it just never gets any longer, her natural DNA only allows for maybe 3 years of anagen. 1, 2, 3. And then she goes into a shedding process. Awaken will not double that, but will increase the length of anagen so that person can naturally grow their hair longer. The next thing is stimulating the cellular generation zone with capsicum and menthol. That's where you have speed of growth. By taking the vital nutrients and adding biotin to them, we can also increase the speed at which that hair grows. So if you have somebody that's 15 years old looking to move in towards a graduation, wants their hair faster, longer, what are you going to recommend them? Awaken. And the brands, they're intercompatible. So she may want color lock on her hair and use Trinity in the bonding, but she would still use the elixir and the treatment at the scalp. And ultimately, this is the most important, I believe, here for hair loss, men and women. It's DHT. And as I'm 63 now, and I've lost the majority of my hair through the top, I've got about 10 years more than my dad and my uncles had. So will it prevent it? No. Will it lengthen the stay of the hair on your head? Yes. The area that we've seen people change around and have extraordinary long-term retention of hair is especially in women, because they have a lower level of dihydrotestosterone to it. The way that this works, I want to stress, is Awaken is drug-free. We work with botanicals that deactivate the actual hormone that causes the shrinking of the follicle. So you have the highest performance while completely respecting personal health and the earth. How'd we do over here, Don? Let's get that cape off of her. Perfect. Now, we are about 80% dry. You can see our frizz is gone from that definition. We can continue to take it 100% dry with it, and the mask is dried right in. So the moisture is going to be a 3-week moisture that really, really lasts within her hair. The curls bake takes no extra time because I was going to have to diffuse it anyway, weren't we? It's applied before we cut. I cut it within the hair. And I know you're going to love those curls, and especially how we've broken that line around your face. Thank you so much, young lady. Okay, Kurt. And let's grab a little bit of our oil. The blowout oil, especially in the wintertime, is what just gives you so much moisture to it. I'll let you do a little bit first. Work it through. Just take it, work it through, and then I'm going to finish our detailing. Awesome. So now, let's get a little Shawn Mendes going on up here. So the disconnect is not as heavy as it's been in the past. Randy, I'm going to get you to grab this for me. I believe the best compliment that you can ever get from a guest in your chair is that when they say, you know what, you really enjoy doing what you're doing, don't you? Because when you can see in those final touches that you really are leaving your work of art, leave your chair. Wow. All yours, buddy.